Hi, and thanks for joining me. Well, we've had a new arrival in the garage recently. Say hello to Al, or Alan as Sunday. He's a CCM Spitfire Bobber, and he's joined Libby and Goldie as a new member of the family. CCM aren't a brand that you see a lot of, even though they've been around for over 50 years now. If you've not come across them before, here's a little history. CCM stands for Clues Competition Motorcycles, and they're built here in the UK. Back in the late 1960s, Alan Clues was a successful competition rider, and he wanted a BSA Works Scrambler, but they wouldn't sell him one. In 1971, the BSA competition department was closed, and Alan bought all the remaining parts that were available and started building his own. The company's gone through a few changes in the intervening years. Alan sadly died in 2018, but his sons and grandsons have carried on the tradition, and CCM is still manufactured at their factory in Bolton. The range has been expanded over the years, now includes street bikes as well as competition bikes. When I saw the Spitfire Bobber at the Peterborough Bike Show early this year, it really caught my eye. Up till recently, you could only order the bike direct from the factory, but you can now see them and order one at one of the Crazy Horse showrooms. The bikes are individually hand built, and there's quite a waiting list for them. Basically, you choose a base model and then add all the extras, colour etc. that you want. I'd actually decided to go over to the factory at Bolton and order one, but more out of interest than anything, I had a quick look on Auto Trader just to see if any second-hand ones came up and what sort of prices. Now this must have been fate, because among the handful that were listed was a Bobber, and apart from the colour, it was just the spec I fancied. Next shop was, it was at a bike shop just 7 miles away. Well, I was straight over, a quick look, and put a deposit on it. Okay, I'll pull over here and we'll do a quick walk around. Now I have to say, these probably come under the Marmite heading. You either love them or you hate them, because they're just that bit different. Personally, I like this style of bike. I was actually quite tempted by the Triumph Bobber, but I didn't want a 1200cc 77 horsepower monster weighing 250 kilos. In terms of power, this is closer to Goldie, with a single cylinder 600cc engine giving out 55 brake horsepower. The Gold Stars are 650 of course, with 45 horsepower. They both give out 55 newton meters of torque, but the CCM is a little higher up the rev range at 5,500. The big seller for me though was the weight. This featherweight comes in at an amazing 140 kilo. That's over 100 kilos lighter than the Triumph Bobber. Even Goldie, who I find perfectly manageable, is about 70 kilos heavier at around the 214 mark. To stop, we've got Brembo brakes, both front and rear. The front is a single disc, but there is a factory option for twin disc. The brackets are already there, but nicely finished off with these laser cut parts if you just have the single disc fitted. Front forks are Mazzocchi upside down, and rear suspensions are monoshock. They're all fully adjustable. There's lovely detailing all over the bike. Many of the brackets and fittings are either CNC machined from alloy and anodized, or the laser cut stainless. Plenty of carbon fibre bits like the mud guards and headlamp cowl, and some nice leather touches like the seat and handlebar grips. Controls are kept to an absolute minimum. There's no switch gear on the right side and just light indicators and horn on the left. The clutch and brake levers are adjustable for span, and the clutch is actually hydraulic. There's no ignition key with these. You just have a little fob that you touch on a pad on the side of the bike, and that powers everything up. On the headstock we've got two little illuminated buttons, fire and kill. You press the fire button to start and the kill button to stop. Simple. The speedo's digital. It has miles per hour in the centre and rev count around the side and top. There's no fuel gauge, but it has a low fuel light. It also has a gear indicator and neutral light. There's various other functions you can choose to display, like trip meters, time, average speed, trip duration, maximum speed, maximum revs, and more. Many that you'll probably never use, but the options are there. It's basically a no-frills pared back machine with just enough technology to make it function. Engine management's minimal. It even has a manual cold start lever on the handlebars for cold weather. Because CCM are a low volume manufacturer, they don't have to comply to such strict regulations as the mainstream names. There's no catalytic converters or other stuff to stifle the engine. Exhaust's quite loud, and the free flow air cleaner also gives a bit of intake noise. It's a 6-speed gearbox, and the change is really smooth and positive. No problem finding neutral. Clutch, that's light and smooth on the take-up. Being a single, there is some vibration through the foot pegs and handlebars, but it's not enough to bother me. And if anything, it adds to the whole riding experience. Incidentally, the engine's a Husqvarna and it's liquid cooled. The overall feel is more like an old school naked minimal bike that performs and handles well, even on those pretty wideish tyres. This particular bike is just over a year old, and it had a bit over 1,000 miles on the clock when I got it, so it's nicely run in. It had its first service at 500 miles, and the next is due at 4,000, so service intervals are reasonable. Incidentally, there is no dealer network, but you can either take your bike to the factory at Bolton, or they have a team of mobile service vans that will go to your house and do repairs and servicing there. Right, I'll just shut up for a few minutes and you can just listen to the sound of the bike on these A&B roads. Then we'll have a quick blast down the motorway for a junction, and you can see what it's like at motorway cruising speed. Right, we're heading down the M18 now, just around the legal speed limit, and he's absolutely fine. Some wind resistance, but the seating position is just right for me, and the little cowl over the headlamp seems to deflect some of it. Just a hint of a buzz through the pegs and bar grips, but not at all uncomfortable. The seat, I have to say, is really good. Just enough padding in all the right places. Feels like you could do a fair distance like this. Well, that's about all for now. This was more an introduction to the new bike rather than a review. So if there's stuff I've missed that you want to know about, just leave me a comment. But I hope you've enjoyed this little blast anyway. Don't forget to leave a like if you have, and if you want to watch more of my ramblings, please subscribe to the channel. Hope you can join me again. So cheers for now.